problem with a lot of guys is they don't realize that in order for you to have a pretty good standard of living, you really need to be in the top 10% of any society you're living in, or location that you're living in. Because really it's not about like nationally, because the country's a big place, especially if you're in the States. You know, but on a local level, right, you really want to be in the top 10% of men, of people. But it's a man's channel, but really it's people. Men are also competing with opposite gender nowadays. You want to be in the top 10% if you want to have a good quality of life. No, it's not enough to be average, okay? I said this before, the average man's life is probably like a 2 or a 3 out of 10, you know? And when I say get to the top 10%, man, I'm not talking about like just being in the top 10% when you're 60 years old. Like, okay, let's look at it like this, right? Like 9% of people, 8 to 9% of people are millionaires in the States. Most of these people who are millionaires in the States, they're older people with a pension and own property. It's obviously appreciated in price across the decades of owning these properties, right? And I don't think we're going to see that kind of appreciation in the future. I don't think we're going to see that. But these are regular people who've lived regular lives. These millionaires. That's why it seems high, right? 8 to 9% of people are millionaires. Yeah, it seems high because really they're just regular people with a pension and you know, and property. They own property. So that's why I'm saying, like, getting into the top 10%, you really want to be in the top 10% of earners, right? That's really what you should be looking at, actually. Top 10% of earners. But think about it. Why do you think like so many men are going overseas? Because when you go overseas, right, you are in the top 10% at least, but really you should be in the top 1%. If you're talking about, let's just say, for example, you're moving to Southeast Asia or Latin America, you should really be in the top 1%. I was looking at like some of these Southeast Asian countries, only like 0.1% of people are millionaires in a lot of these countries. Some is less, right? Only 0.1% of people have $1 million USD. Imagine going over to these countries, right, with $1 million USD. You sell everything up. You go over there with $1 million USD. You're in the top 0.1%. We ain't talking about the top 10%. We talking about the top 0.1%. You're living like a king. You're living like a king out there in these countries. And that's the thing. That's why the goal is to get, really to get into the top 0.1%. That's the goal. But I'm talking about to have a decent life, to be in the top 10%. That's a decent life. That's not a luxurious life. That's just a decent life. If you're below the top 10%, your life is going to be terrible, probably, most likely. I mean, obviously it differs from location to location, but the general rule is you must get into the top 10%. That's the general rule. Most men don't follow that. Most men don't follow that rule at all. They're just looking to be an average man working a regular job. Well, good luck with that, bro. See, when guys go overseas, they might be average in the West, but when they go overseas, they're able to rent a nice condo for $500, which is piss cheap, right? But over there, it's decent, right? It's pretty good. Have a maid, service. Be able to eat out at nice restaurants all the time. be able to have relationships, right, with chicks that obviously are above the standard of what they're getting back home. And that's the thing. They're able to do these things because they're in the top 10%. That's the reason why. When you get to the top 10%, your life is different to the average man, bro. Of course, socialists will tell you that everyone's in the same position. Don't listen to them. They're just trying to make you support them, their political goals. That's why they're trying to make you feel like you're in the same position. No, you're not, bro. The top 10% are in a good position, bro. You're in a good position if you're in the top 10%. You're not in a great position, but you're in a good, solid position if you're in the top 10% of men, right? You're in a good, solid position. Obviously, you should want more than that, but it's a good, solid position to be in, man. And that's the thing. When you think about it, take a guy like Boogie, right? Boogie 2988, Stephen Williams. Stephen Williams is a complete imbecile, right? Stephen Williams, Boogie 2988, is a complete imbecile. But he was able to keep his head afloat. The only reason why Boogie was able to keep his head afloat, keep up with his medical bills, and isn't 6 feet under right now, because we know that if Boogie doesn't take his medical bills, bro, like, or pay his medical bills, he's toast, man. Boogie is toast without his medical bills being paid. He's toast. The reason why Boogie was able to, like, keep his head afloat is because he bought a house in Arkansas for like 220 or 280,000. So you can go look on the internet, right? He bought a house for like 250, 270, something like that. It's a nice house, right? It's a nice house. Turkey Tom's been there, right? Turkey Tom has been there and he said it's a nice house. But that's the thing. He got a nice house for under $300,000. Yeah, he bought it 10 years ago. But even 10 years ago, right? Even 10 years ago, it was piss cheap, man. It's cheap as chips. But the reason why he was only able to get his hands on that house is because he moved to Arkansas. He moved to a cheap place. And that's another thing that a lot of guys need to understand. They're not matching their income and their overall net worth with the place where they're living in, man. A lot of people are living in these high cost of living places, but they're not earning enough to live a decent standard of living in these places. That's why they're playing the game wrong. You're just making the same mistakes that your parents made. Because you were probably raised in one of these cities, New York, LA, you know, these high cost of living cities, and you never moved out the place, but you never got into the top 10%. So your life is not going to be good. You're going to be living a heavily restricted life. I spoke about this 5 years ago at the beginning of the pandemic. I said your goal should be to make your income location dependent. Not just for the reason in which I just stated, but also because, you know, what was happening with people were basically not able to work, right? They were given these payments, but these payments that they were given were less than what they were earning in their jobs. And that's the thing. Obviously, we have the threat of AI now. We have a lot of issues going on. But the thing is that what we need to understand is that you need to be living in a place that's congruent with what you're earning, man. Don't live in a place you're poor, but you're living in a high cost of living place. Yeah, you're lucky if you don't end up homeless, man, with that kind of mentality. You gotta become location independent. That's the easiest way to really do it, in my opinion. The easiest way to do it is become location independent. Make sure that your income isn't tied to your physical location. If you can do that, then you should be in good stead, man. But a lot of guys ain't doing that. Oh, I can't buy a house, I can't buy a house. You can buy a house, you're just too dumb to understand that You can't buy a house in the city that you're in right now because you don't meet the requirements. You're too poor, and you say, oh, well, I'm entitled to buy a house. No, you're not entitled to buy a house because at the end of the day, you don't dictate the market. You don't dictate the market. The market is dictated for you. And if you don't make the cut, then it's time to go elsewhere, man. And it's that simple. Guys make things more complicated than what they are. But the problem is a lot of people are listening to socialists like Gary Stevenson, who isn't going to change anything about your situation. You keep listening to these socialists. These socialists ain't going to help you. They're not going to help you at all. I don't listen to socialists. I've never been a socialist. I've never been one. And if I was one, I'd be finished. I'd probably be 6 foot under right now. It's not healthy to be a socialist because essentially what you're doing is you're saying that I'm a victim and I can't do anything about my situation. That's great for your mental health, isn't it? Oh, my faith is now in politics. They relinquish their own life and hand their life to the likes of Gary Stevenson. That's what they do. They relinquish their own life. They say, I'm not in control of my own life. I'm not in control of my destiny. My destiny is determined by politics, which is bullshit. It's bullshit. I started online businesses and, I'm location independent. So why is it, they're claiming it's not feasible? You don't need to be a multimillionaire to live a luxury lifestyle overseas anyway. You don't. Like I said, luxury lifestyle, get in the top 1%. If you want to live actual luxury, get in the top 1%. I would say get in the top 1%, depending on what level of luxury. But, let's say entry level luxury, get in the top 1%. Get in the top 1% of society, man. Get in the top 1%. Don't be a peasant. People get mad when you talk like that. They don't want to hear you talk about poor people, but I am poor and I was raised poor. I'm not dirt poor, but I'm not filthy rich either. But that's the thing. Even when I am filthy rich, I'm still going to talk the same way I'm talking. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, I'm not out here to harm people. I'm out here to help people understand what they need to do. So you guys don't hear this. You certainly don't hear it on any political discourse, which is why I tell you to avoid that political discourse, because all they're telling you is what power politicians have over you, but they're not telling you what power you actually have over your own life. And that's why political discourse is incredibly dangerous and should be avoided at all costs, especially when it's not even election time. Like some people talk about politics all year round, not just election year, but every day. I mean, these people are crazy. What are you talking? You're not even making money off of it. These people are crazy, man. Listening to these doomers like Asmongold telling you to give up on life and jump out a window like Etika. I mean, these people are, they're not healthy. It's not healthy to listen to these people at all. I'm going to make a video about these internet guys and why you should get off the internet in general, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. We can talk about the average man, okay? I've spoken about this, but we all know that the average man is done. We all know it. Some people go, oh, I know an average man. Nah, stop that, bro. Stop that. Don't even, don't even start that I know an average man, because you don't even know what's... most people in the West are just going to say, yeah, I'm doing fine. Yeah, I love my life. That don't mean that it's true. They're just saying it. Anybody can say whatever they want to say. Of course you're going to say, because you're helping yourself to cope with your situation. If you say my life sucks, my life sucks, my life sucks, but you don't have a goal, like you don't have any real pathway, you don't know how to improve your situation, then that's actually worse. Obviously, the ideal situation is knowing how to improve your situation. But if you don't know how to improve your situation, then constantly emphasizing about how bad your life is, that's going to make your situation worse. You're going to probably become dangerous, or you're going to jump out the window. you know, because you're wallowing in despair and pity, and it's destroying you. But I'm telling you, I've always brought solutions on this platform. You can watch my stuff from 5-6 years ago. I was bringing solutions back then, and I'm still bringing solutions right now. What I've been saying has been the truth anyway. I'm not just making stuff up. You know, I've been speaking the truth anyway, because at the end of the day, I mean, you know, I'm not on this platform to make myself or others feel good. I spoke against the feel good factor. These are the kind of videos that a lot of you guys don't watch. You don't watch, you know, especially you Johnny come latelys, you come to the channel, but you don't actually watch like the stuff that I produced many, many years ago. All of it's relevant. Yeah, you may not have that with other channels. Their stuff 5-6 years ago may not be relevant, but mine is. Mine is just as relevant today, okay? Just as relevant today as it was, you know, 5 years ago. It's just as relevant. My content never gets stale. You know, I can't think of a single thing I produced that gotten stale. It just doesn't get stale because it's not based on, I mean, yes, I do adjust based on the time period, right? I do adjust based on the time period, but ultimately it's timeless. It's still the same. You got to get to the top 10% 5 years ago, and today you still want to get to the top 10%. See, the average man, right? The average man historically, if we want to talk about the average man, okay? Historically, the average man, he did not have a good life. I'm talking about the modern world, and I think it was even worse 100, 200 years ago. But I'm not a historian. I don't know about all that. But let's talk about the boomer days. The average man never had a good time in the boomer days. He didn't have a good time. What the average man historically was able to do that the modern man is not able to do. Okay? The average man historically, he was able to use his family as a cope, right? Because back then, people did get married and stay together. Now, I come across these videos of the boomer, right? And, you know, this you guys might have seen these videos. This guy goes, how much did you pay for your first house? It's in the States. And they say, oh, I paid $33,000 back in 1978. You know, it's like, and these are couples, right? They'll say like, we paid this, we paid that. These are people in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s. They're still together, right? They're still together. Let me tell you, that's not going to be the case. You ain't gonna be in a relationship for 40, 50 years in a modern West. It's just not gonna happen. The world is not, the social media. Some people say social media has ruined relationship. I don't know, this ain't a relationship channel, but we can all see it. You're not gonna stay together, and as a man, you're not gonna be able to have access to your children at your will. It's gonna go to the opposite gender. I wouldn't even have a kid, but I'm just talking about in general, right? In general, men are not gonna have a family that's tight-knit, that's together, because people ain't staying together. People ain't staying married in the modern. So you ain't gonna be able to use your family as a cope the way that boomers can. Boomers were losers as well. You know, they weren't winners. You know, the majority of people are losers. Back in the boomer generation, they were also losers. But the thing is that they were able to use their family to cope with a situation. That's the key difference. He was able to have a family around him, you know, and a lot of the time men retire earlier as well because men are older. So when you retire as a boomer man, let's say you retire at 65, your wife might be 58 or 57, she's still going to work, so you still got some money coming through. That's not going to be the case for the man. The man is going to lose in divorce, right? And he's going to lose access to the kids. And that's why, you know, a lot of men are in dire straits right now, because the average man isn't going to be able to go through these things financially and come out the other side. He's just not going to be able to do it. He's not going to have the emotional support of a family, and he's not going to have the financial support. So he's in dire straits. And that's the thing. That's where the average man is getting harder to be average. I don't know why any guy would want to be or even accept or tolerate being an average man. And some people are even below average. You know, we're going to talk about that. You see in the title, the peasant underclass. That's the next thing we're going to talk about. The men who are below average. Because they are, you know, to me, average and below average is almost the same thing. I mean, but the thing is with average men, they can strategically get by if they, you know, don't get divorced, like if they stay single, if they live frugally. You know, the average man, he can also go overseas. So the average man can get by strategically. He may be able to just make it, but the below average man, he ain't got hope in hell of making it. The below average man, the peasant underclass, right? And I'm not confident that any sizable percentage of average men will even make it, because AI, you know, is going to take jobs anyway. You know, you're really going to have to go overseas, I mean, or do something, I don't know, but that's for you to find out. I'm all about getting into the top 10%. I don't see any other option, bro. If you're going to stay in the West, get to the top 10%. If you're going to go overseas, get to the top 1%. That's what I'm telling you guys to do, man. That's what I'm telling you guys to do. And obviously, over time, it may change in the next 20 to 30 years. But that's obviously, you're going to adjust based on the time period that you're in. See, a lot of boomers didn't do that either. They never adjusted based on the time period that they were in. A lot of boomers still think $1 million cash is a lot of money. A lot of boomers don't really understand money, because the thing is with a lot of boomers is they don't do anything with that money. The only thing they do is go on vacation, and, you know, their houses are paid off. They don't really buy new clothes. Okay, they buy groceries. But other than that, like, they don't really understand what the cost of things, a lot of boomers, because they're not paying a lot of things due to their age and due to the fact that they've already paid their houses off. So they think $1 million is a lot of money. They think 100 grand. Yeah, because back in the 80s, $1 million and making 100 grand a year was the gold standard, probably back in the 80s and 90s. You know, I remember that show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Remember that show? Right? When did that come out? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That came out in the 90s, right? So back then, the original, not the now one with Jeremy Clarkson, the original one, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, bro, with Chris Tarrant, right? That, the original show, $1 million back in the late 90s was a lot of money. But nowadays, $1 million ain't what it used to be. It's nowhere near what it used to be. So this is what you got to understand, that over time, the value of money is changing. So when I tell you guys get into the top 10%, it makes more sense. Even that percentage can change, but it makes more sense to go by percentage rather than a raw figure, right? Because when you go by the raw figure, that's going to become outdated, and the value is changing very rapidly. You know, the purchasing power that money has is changing very rapidly. So going by a raw figure is actually wrong. The percentage is actually a better way to look at things. But see, that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Because a lot of young guys, they don't think about any of this stuff. Oh, I just want to be an average man. And, you know, you see these guys on YouTube, they're struggling. They're part of the peasant underclass. We're going to talk about these people on YouTube. These bottom of the food chain peasants. You know? I love saying that. Bottom of the food chain peasants, because that's what they are. Yeah, it's not politically correct. I don't care if it's not politically correct to call them peasants. That's what they are. They're modern day peasants. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel, you know, working the gig economy. I mean, working as truck drivers, working as warehouse operative. Bro, these jobs are finished. It's not going to exist. AI is going to take these jobs. You see these peasants out there on the streets, you know, driving these, bikes, delivering food. These guys, I mean, what do you think you're going to be doing in the future? They're not interested in like doing anything else, man. You know, delivering stuff. That company Every in the UK and Europe. Every, EVRI. Do you know how much these people earn, bro? Do you guys know how much they earn? Last time I checked, bro, for a standard size parcel, right? A standard size parcel, they make 48p, right? I think they put it up to maybe 60p or something like that. It's less than £1, bro. Like, I don't know if you guys watched that loser from Maidstone. He made a video about Every, right? And how much money that they make. They're making peanuts, man. They're making bloody peanuts to deliver these parcels. They're peasants. Oh, you're disrespecting people. I'm not disrespecting nobody. I'm telling you guys what it is. You know? I'm telling you guys how they treat these people. You know, these people are working these jobs, Amazon Flex. You know, they get paid so little, they don't even knock the door anymore. Have you guys noticed that? Nowadays, all they do, bro, is leave it there, and you gotta check your email, right? You gotta check your email to find out that the thing's delivered. You know why they do that? Because they get paid so little, right? They're in a rush to deliver them parcels, so they just drop it there and go on. They're making 40, 50, 60p a pop. This is pittance. You know, a lot of these people that are working these jobs, you know, I heard some of them are illegal, you know, and if you're illegal, you're not paying taxes. But I don't know. But the thing is, well, you know, like, you're working these jobs and you're part of the peasant underclass, man. That's what you are. These people are the underclass. I don't care what these socialists tell. Oh, everyone's in the same position. No, everyone's not in the same position. You're just trying to get me to join your socialist fight. I don't believe in your fight, and I don't care about your plight either. I don't. I really don't. That's the worst thing you can do, is get involved politically and become an activist with these people. They're not going to help you. We're wasting your time, man. These doomers on the internet are bottom of the food chain peasants. They are part of the peasant underclass. They don't have what it takes to make it. And that's why they don't like the Unreal Man. Like that one loser who made a video about me. The dude is pushing 40 years old. He can't even, like, you know, get a job. I mean, you know, these guys are losers, man. Straight up, you see them cropping up all over the internet now. These are bottom of the food chain. You know, they're bastards. They're disgusting people. They don't have no fight in them. They don't have no skills. They don't even have a university degree. You know, they can't even go and teach English in China, which still works, by the way. I thought that didn't work anymore, but I follow a guy on YouTube who does it. And believe me, teaching English in China, you know, is a hell of a lot better than working a peasant underclass warehouse job, or, you know, delivery job, gig economy. Is a hell of a lot better, man. Because you're able to save money. You know, because you're making, I don't know, about $2.5, $3 a month. But you're able to rent a place for a few $100 a month, and it's cheap. It's cheap to live out there. So you're able to save way more money. But that's the thing. It's like you're not living check to check. But these guys don't even have a university degree, bro. They have no options whatsoever. These are the peasant. These are the lowest of the low, cleaning the streets, you know, you know, cleaning the streets, doing these crap jobs. I mean, you know, working in a dirty warehouse. One guy that made a video about me years back, he's still on YouTube, right? The guy was like, I work in dirty warehouses, and he's complaining about his life. Well, of course your life is shit. You're living in New York and you're working in dirty warehouses. Of course, I'm surprised you haven't jumped off the bridge like Etika. You know, Etika, was he in New York? I think he was. Correct me if I'm wrong. He must have been, because he jumped off a Brooklyn Bridge, you know. But that's the thing. I mean, these guys are crazy, man. You know, these guys are straight up crazy. The way that they're living. They don't realize that they are toast, man. It's only going to get worse. The longer you remain in that peasant underclass, man, it's only going to get worse. And I know I got a handful of people who are in that underclass that watch my channel, but they don't want to admit it because they're, you know, first of all, I mean, by trying to deny that you're in the peasant underclass ain't going to change that you are in it. You know, it's not going to change anything. You might as well just come on the channel and admit that, you know what, Unreal, I'm in the peasant underclass, man, and I need to come out of it. You might as well come and admit it instead of trying to pretend that you're doing well when you're not. You know, because I've been talking about this stuff for years. I spoke about UBI years ago, like 6 years ago I spoke about UBI. And that's the thing, it's like, guys need to understand that you can't just like work a regular job nowadays and expect to have a decent life. Working a regular job nowadays basically means that you're gonna be in a struggle, man. And you're not gonna have anything that you really want. You're just gonna be able to get by. That's it, you're just gonna be able to get by. Yeah, you're gonna be able to get by. You're not gonna starve to death. But that's all you're not gonna get anything out of life. You're not going to have a good experience. Because for me, it's all about experience. It's all about what experience have you had in your life. And when it's all said and done, you're going to want to have a good experience. You don't want to be scraped off the bottom of the floor like they do in Japan. You know, in Japan, when these poor people in Japan, they pass away in their apartment, right? And, you know, nobody knows that they're even there, man, until the stench of their decaying carcass. People notify the authorities and they come and scrape them off the bottom of the floor. Imagine that, bro. Imagine that's your fate. You're being scraped off the bottom of the floor. You know, that's your fate. You're not being, you know, laid to rest in a peaceful manner. Your decaying carcass is being scraped off the bottom of the floor. I mean, look at how people end up. That's how people end up who don't take life seriously, man. Yes, that's how people end up who don't take life seriously. That should put fear inside of you. I was gonna make a video about that. That should put fear inside of you, man. Yeah, you should feel real fear. That should make you want to cry, knowing that happens. That people are scraped off the bottom of the floor, their decaying dead carcass. Why? Because they were broke and nobody gave a shit about them. Oh, Unreal, why so morbid, Unreal? Why this? I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth about what happens to people. Why do you think I'm so motivated to reach the promised land? Why do you think I'm so motivated to reach that state of euphoria? Because I still want something out of life. I don't care if it's the end times. I don't care. I still want something out of life. Oh yeah. I still want something out of life. Because I still believe that life has something to offer. Right? There's people who don't believe that. There's people who don't believe that life has something to offer. And let me tell you something, I don't agree with those people. You know, I don't agree with those people one bit. I don't agree with those people one iota. I still believe that life has a lot to offer, man. Life may be getting worse and worse, but hey, you rather squeeze the last bit of juice out of the orange than have nothing. That's the way I look at it, man. There's still things that you can do. There's still things you can enjoy, but you need money at the end of the day. Without money, you're just going to become a doomer. You're just going to become a hardcore gamer. You're going to live a virtual life. And there's going to be more anti-gaming content on the channel. Don't think I'm done with that. But you're going to be living your life through a virtual simulator. That's if you don't go homeless. Living life virtually. Oh, I can hunt animals in Grand Theft. You can hunt animals in Grand Theft. You can hunt animals in real life. Why the hell do you want to hunt animals in Grand Theft? Oh, I can play golf in Grand Theft. It's like, bro, you should be trying to play golf in real life. Oh, it's too expensive. That's going to be your life. If you keep going the way you're going, that's going to be your life. And not as a kid, as a 40-year-old man, you're going to be playing golf on Grand Theft Auto, hunting animals in Grand Theft Auto, because you're too broke to do it in real life. Real life is meant to be experienced in the real world. We're going to talk about that in my anti-internet video, man. But that's the thing. I've been telling you guys for the longest time everything you really need to know, man, about what's going on and what you need to do and where you need to be in order to fix your situation. I've been telling you guys that, man. And yeah, it's a long road. It's not an instant quick fix. But you see, when you got a goal and when you're approaching your goal, right? When you're approaching your goal and you're seeing things get better and you're seeing yourself move closer to the promised land, your mindset is going to be completely different. The reason why people are doomers is because they know that they're finished in the back of their mind. They know that they're finished. That's the reason why they're doomers. Because they're not doing anything to not be finished. I can't be a doomer. I've done too much to be I done too much. I've done the hard part. I done way too much to ever become a doomer. If I become a doomer, I've lost the plot. I've gone out of my damn mind. If you see me start making doomer content, which you won't, but if you did, you gotta understand I've lost my marbles somehow. Because I've done the hard work. These guys haven't done the hard work, but yet they think they're going to get the results. You're not going to get any results. These peasant underclass, these bottom of the food chain peasants, they are in for a world of hurt. They're in for a world of hurt. It's only going to get worse as time goes by, man. Worse and worse and worse and worse. While the people who actually put the work in, their experience is going to get better as time goes by. So which one you want to be? The choice is yours. It's Unreal Man here, the truth of man is fair. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you aren't already, make sure to hit that notification bell so you're informed every time I upload a new video.